8:44, welcome back to Good Morning San Diego. A lawsuit that happened in Missouri is changing who will pay realtor commissions moving forward. Joining us now to discuss the lawsuit and how it's going to change things for buyers and sellers is Jim Bottrell of the Jim Bottrell Real Estate Team. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Okay, we talked about this lawsuit a while back. Can you tell us exactly what was going on here?
Okay, well, it all started in Missouri. And this is a lawsuit that never should have been lost. National Association of Realtors never should have lost this. It was like Grenada, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street reference. Basically saying that it's not fair to have a seller pay for the buyer's agent's commissions. Now, we can take a step back. Let's go back 40 years when this whole system was created. So if you were a home buyer, the realtor that worked with you, that fee was taken care of by the seller. And that was a system that was created 40 years ago. So a seller wants to sell their home, they hire a listing agent, they pay that listing agent a fee, which is always negotiable. And then part of that fee is then offered out as what's called the solicitation. And so offered on the MLS system saying, hey, all the buyer's agents out there, if you bring the buyer that actually buys this house, you will get paid this portion of the commission. So it was offered out there, and it was a lot of really great things that happened from it because sellers got a lot more exposure on their house. All right, so that worked out for them. So more exposure, more showings, more listing, or more offers, more money. Worked out great. Buyers worked out great for them too because they could buy a house and the fee for that buyer's agent was already baked into the price. So they always had a buyer's agent telling them what the best practices were, what inspections they were allowed to have, what their contingencies were, what their rights were, and all of these things. And the net result is it worked out great. It's always been the buyer that has brought 100% to the money. So the thing is the buyer's always paid for it. But the buyer brings 100% of the money, and it's been a system that's worked out great for 40 years, and it dramatically reduced the number of lawsuits between buyers and sellers, which are almost non-existent.
And now that's going to change. So explain what changes moving forward.
Well, the sellers are no longer, come August 17th, the sellers are no longer going to be allowed to offer that solicitation out to all the buyers, but it's only on the MLS. Can't offer on the MLS. I do believe there's going to be a workaround. The DOJ has chimed in and said that they're not sure that they want sellers to be able to offer a solicitation at all. But that's actually going to take an act of Congress. That's not going to happen. You're going to tell a seller of anything what commission they can and can't pay. All right, so there will be a workaround. But some sellers are going to say, I'm not going to pay it. Let's also remember the fact that when they bought that house, they didn't pay for an agent. The seller paid for that. The buyers are the ones that really doesn't work out well for. In the past, the buyer's agency fee has always been baked into the price, so the lender participated in that. So they're not going to have that anymore. And there's also another change that nobody's talking about yet, is that all buyer's agents are going to be required, licensing requirement, that they hand the buyer a form that says this is how the agents are going to get paid, and you as the buyer might become responsible for it. They're requiring that the buyer sign this form before they even show them the first house.
Wow. So automatically the buyer feels like they're on the hook for at least a portion of...
Yeah, and again, they've always paid 100% of it, but it's always been baked into everything, and the lender participated. So nowadays that's not going to happen so much anymore. So the buyers have a few options. They can tell their listing agent, only show me those houses that are for sale. I'm sure they can ask their buyer's agent. Their buyer's agent. Only show me those houses that are for sale that are offering that solicitation, so I don't have to pay for it out of pocket, and the lender can participate in those expenses. All right, they'd be self-steering, if you will. All right, or it's option two. They can say, fine, show me everything, and if I have to write a check for your fee, I write a check. I don't see that happening too much because it's tough being a buyer anyway. And then there's option three, which I see a lot of happening, is this buyer will probably just call the listing agent and think, hey, I'll just bypass the buyer's agent. And there's a downside to that because that listing agent does not have any fiduciary duties to that buyer. So that listing agent has no need to tell that buyer what their rights are, what inspections they can have, what things they can ask for, what the best practices are. And I think in the end, that's going to be a lot of what we're happening, and then we're going to start to see a lot of lawsuits happen. So I would not want to be an errors and omissions insurance company.
Okay, well, it's a big change for buyers and sellers and the agents themselves. So
yeah,
we'll have to see how it affects an already sticky housing market, right?
Yeah, there's nothing good happening here. We have time to talk about what's going to happen in real estate with prices and stuff?
Really quickly.
Okay, most people aren't selling their house right now. They still have an interest rate that's at about a 2%, so they're not giving that up.
Right.
That's going to keep the supply of houses available to buy extremely low, so that's going to provide a lot of support for houses and probably cause housing prices to go up even more. So that's what we
Lovely.
can expect next.
Lovely.
No.
All right, Jim. Can't blame you for the bad news, right?
Yeah, don't shoot
Just
the
the
messenger.
messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay.